I believe that our teaching on prayer must begin not from finding God in the gaps, let alone from looking for Him only on the borders where human powers give out, which is the point at which popular men turn to prayer, but from taking the world, history, the diary seriously, as the locus of I always have a hard time pronouncing this word. Incarnation. Let's go with that. Okay. The matter of prayer is supplied by the world. That is like too rarefied an atmosphere may be harder to pray in as it is to breathe in. No, that didn't seem right. Let's start again. The matter of prayer is supplied by the world. That is like too rarefied an atmosphere may be harder to pray in as it is to breathe in. You know what? I think that looked much better, don't you think? Absolutely, I think it worked much better. Cool. Let's continue reading. The Christian life, the life of the man for others, must, as Bonaparte insisted, be a worldly life. Yet it must be a life of holy worldliness, of sacred secularity. And this means seeing the diary in depth, preparing in the telephone to meet our God. And that cannot be done by skating across the surface of life. It can only be done by waiting upon the Lord. But waiting upon the Lord, like Nehemiah, with a trowel in one hand and a sword in the other. And so, as it were, with the engagement pad and the I know, turn the page, thank you. Newspaper spread before the Lord. George MacLeod describes the function of morning prayer. Your turn. We resolutely count out the paper money of our plotted day till we have assessed its value in the coinage of the eternal. In the light of the incarnation, nothing is secular, but unless we handle each paper token of the seeming secular and hold it till we see its true value in the light of the glorified humanity, then by 10 in the morning, we are down one precipice of the knife edge and are in a like judgment with the pietist who has gone down the other side. Prayer is openness to the ground of our being, and in it the readiness is all. This means, as we shall see to be the case with ethics, that it is impossible to compile a prayer manual comparable with the old guides to the spiritual life. If prayer is what you do when you turn aside into the hidden garden, then you can, to some extent, plot its path and cultivate its borders. Meditation can be conducted like a laboratory experiment, with its conditions laid down beforehand and its methods pre-selected. But if we really take seriously the fact that the Lord must meet us first on the Emmaus road until he can turn in to abide with us, then there are no ready-made rules. These words, if on our daily course our mind be set to hollow all we find, provide no reliable guide to the religious life, but they may be the only condition of prayer. Moreover, if prayer does not start from the stasis, then to fix the stasis as if they were primary, and all else would follow, may be the path to disillusionment. Indeed, I believe this is why countless people give up praying. They set aside the stasis religiously, and they become emptier and emptier. I am not suggesting in the least that the stases are not necessary, but I believe they will not be creative until they are seen to be necessary, made imperative by the overspill of a prayer-laden life. In fact, if I had the courage, I would start the other end in teaching the discipline of prayer, not from chronos, time set by the clock, but from kairos, waiting for the moment that drives us to our knees. I am only too conscious that this is dangerous doctrine, and that the casualties may be many. though would they be more numerous than those of our present methods? I am only too conscious that this is dangerous doctrine, and that the casualties may be many, though would they be more numerous than those of our present methods? Such an approach requires greater self-discipline, not less. But before it is dismissed as the laxest of all rules of life, I would urge a comparison. There are those who keep fit and feel they can only keep fit by a rigid constitutional each day. There are others who reckon to keep in trim by using their common sense, taking exercise as and when they really feel they need it. There are students who can only keep up to the mark by setting themselves a strict quota of hours of study each day. There are others who trust themselves to work responsibly and play responsibly. There are those who know they can control their spending only by keeping detailed accounts. There are others who are content to rely on their bank statements and a day-to-day judgment of what they can rightly afford. Our Victorian grandparents believed in the Constitution, in the timetable, and above all in keeping accounts, almost as religiously as some priests now prescribe the rule of life. But one wonders whether their name not for some types be as much liberation in their abandonment as in their observance, and in the end no less discipline. Of course, we may easily grow fat, lax, and spendthrift, and in our spiritual, please turn the page. Thank you, you're welcome. Account who can be confident how he stands. Nevertheless, let a man that sense the binding power be unconditional over his life at some point, however non-religious, let him but know with any depth or passion that persons matter. Let him but feel any constraint of the love of Christ, then the chances are that that man's life will have an inner discipline, a compulsion to prayer, more effective than that of any artificial rules. Rules, guiding lines, checks and balances, there must be. But for man come of age, however unregenerate, they are bound to be different and more dangerous. But in the freedom with which Christ has set us free, we must accept and even welcome that risk. There is little hope in any case in simply beating the old drum. We shall not impose religious discipline except on the religious. That is, to use the analogy with St. Paul's controversy with the Judaizers on man under the law. Man today is no longer content to be under tutors, yet he must discover, and discover for himself, that he will be free only within the law of Christ, as the bondservant of love. The words of St. Augustine, love God and do what you like, were never safe. But they constitute the heart of Christian prayer, as they do of Christian conduct. And to this we must now turn, if we are to explore the full consequences of Christianity in an entire absence of religion.